Hello, my name is Sandy Straw. This is my philosophy paper presentation for my Ag Education 704 class at NCA&T. I chose Prosser and Dewey, education philosophers of the early 20th century, to talk to you about today. I hope you enjoy it. Charles Prosser was a history and physics teacher and superintendent in his hometown of New Albany, Indiana. After earning a PhD, he became an associate commissioner of education for the state of Massachusetts, and after that he became an executive director of the National Society for the Promotion of Industrial Education. He directed the Dunwoody Vocational Institute in Minneapolis for 30 years before retiring in 1945. Today, that institute is known as the Dunwoody College of Technology, where you could choose one of 47 vocational degree programs for those who were born to do, quote unquote. Prosser studied at DePaul University, earned a law degree at the University of Louisville in 1899. He earned a doctorate from Teachers College at Columbia. So he's a very well-educated man, and he's considered the father of career and technical education, or CTE. John Dewey is also a very educated man. He's a famous philosopher and education reformer, in addition to be a famous educator who was a professor of philosophy at Columbia for 25 years, who was a philosophy and psychology instructor at the University of Michigan for many years, and he also taught at the University of Chicago. He was a proponent and spokesperson for progressive and pragmatic education, where creativity, reflection, experiential education, and student-centered learning should be stressed. As a child, he attended Burlington school systems in Vermont. He went to the University of Vermont, and he earned his doctorate at Johns Hopkins University in 1884, where he studied under many prominent philosophers. So back to Prosser. From Indiana, he's probably most noted for his 16 theorems that helped to develop vocational education within the public school systems here in America. A few of the theorems I want to mention are number 6, 7, and 9. Number 6, vocational education should provide opportunities for students to repeat operations of thinking and repeat those manipulative skills. Vocational education, number 7, should be taught by instructors who have successful experiences in the topic. This makes me think of today's community colleges, where you can go take an auto mechanics class or a woodworking class, and it is via an instructor who is successful in the business. And number 9, vocational education should prepare individuals for occupations that currently exist in the workforce. So think back to the early 20th century. We're talking about World War I and the Great Depression, some of the years that Prosser was alive, and would contribute with vocational education ideas. Another major contribution Prosser gave to vocational education was forging the Smith-Hughes Act of 1917, where federal grant money was given to the states to create and promote vocational education in topics such as agriculture, trade, industrial, and home economics, as cited in the Monthly Labor Review, a journal I found back from 1919. More than 1,700 schools created vocational courses within the first year of being given federal money. It was Prosser who was voted the director of the Federal Board of Education to lead the Vocational Education Initiative, and he served from 1917 to 1919. So he took a break from Minnesota and became the director of the Board of Education. Board of Education, specifically vocational education. So Prosser also advocated for a dual education system, separating vocational education from academia. Bookkeeping, bricklaying, plumbing, machine operations are a few of the vocational skills that would benefit being taught, he said, in a separate location from just learning, Latin, English, math, reading. And the idea is that there would be industry experienced teachers, and that vocational education would benefit those who had this special calling. And another thing that Prosser was noted for, he once summarized a United States Office of Education meeting whose goal was to determine the state of vocational education in the years ahead. He identified that 20% of students in school systems were served by the academic programs taught, only 20%, and another 20% of students were served by those vocational programs, and it was the 60% were served by neither. That high school is preparing most students for, quote unquote, the life of one that holds a job. The need for ongoing work experience, basic life skills, and future short-term industrial training would benefit the masses, say these 60% of high schoolers who weren't going on to a higher education or weren't going on to a vocational school. And so such local curriculum for this short-term industrial training, life skills, and work experience, it became known as the Prosser Revolution. Now back to Dewey, the philosopher and psychologist whose effort was in terms of experiential education and research. He's, again, known for many, many published works, I think upwards of 1,000, from journal articles to books. Themes within his works include learning by doing, interacting with the environment, encouraging social reform, preparing students for living in a democratic society, encouraging discussions within the classroom, and encouraging logical arguments, and showing education is interdisciplinary, which means something you're learning in biology can be used in another framework, learning via a math problem, or you can use that math problem to solve your biology problem, and vice versa. Or it could go to all these different subjects. Another contribution within the learning laboratories that Dewey set up, there's a picture here on the PowerPoint of ladies spinning wool, so a learning laboratory of spinning. The idea is that teaching was student-centered, that we were meeting the needs of individual and preparing the people for life. Instruction began with problem-solving skills, and CTE was considered for everyone, with all benefiting, not just a chosen few. And so here are a few of the philosophy comparisons that we read in The History and Growth of Career and Technical Education in America, our textbook by Gordon and Schultz. And so everything on the left shows off Prosser's philosophy versus Dewey on the right. So Prosser, again, wanted students to learn industrial skills. So there was industry needs he was trying to attain, versus Dewey wanted the needs of the individual to be met first. Prosser reserved CTE for those motivated to do it. However, Dewey said CTE is for everybody. Prosser said the base of knowledge was first and then learning some problem-solving skills, where Dewey said the opposite, problem-solving first, and that's part of experiential education, where you do a project and then you share the project and then you can process the project and then you can learn from the project. Prosser wanted students to have marketable skills right away, and Dewey wanted skills of students to be via more life skills and adaptability skills. And Prosser wanted the instructors to have industrial experience, be successful in their work, versus Dewey wanted teachers with educational experience. And I support both philosophers in that progressive and practical education is ideal in education. Both philosophers agree that students should learn by doing, and when they were alive in the 20th century. However, Prosser thought the doing processes should be specifically occupational experiences in high school with an industrial view and in an isolated and independent environment for activities to occur. I disagree with that dual education system Prosser suggested because I've actually experienced the segregation it creates within a school system. I literally was separated from the rest of my classmates once because I took college prep classes rather than computer training, workshop mechanics, or even home economics. And yes, I was able to get a few of those weeks of skills in before I moved to a different school. But once you started getting into the older grades, it was more choose one or the other. Choose college prep, work your way towards academia, or choose vocational skills. So I had to choose between art and science and manual skills and calculus. So I do agree with Dewey that experiential education should include art and science and also planning and reflecting on processes so that students don't lose the skills of observation, memory, and reasoning. So Dewey teaches free thinking and problem-solving skills, life and adaptability skills, and promotes intelligent workers in charge of their own economic destiny. So Dewey's vocational education would prize freedom more than docility, initiative more than automatic skill, insight and understanding more than capacity to recite lessons or to execute tasks under the direction of others. Have a great night.